A very good day and welcome to our presentation. We are from Group Advocatum Enterprise and today's case analysis is CARLILL and CARBOLIC Smoke Bowl Company. It happened in 1893. Before our presentation begins, let's us introduce to you our team, which consists of 4 members.
Now we begin with the issue. In this case, CARLILL and CARBOLIC Smoke Bowl Company have 3 issues, which are whether there was a valid and binding contract between the 2 parties. Second, whether the advertisement constitutes an offer. Lastly, whether the performance of the condition in the advertisement amounts to a notification of acceptance of the offer.
Next is the relevant law. The relevant law that involved in this case is the Law of Contract 1950.
The important events, or as we call it, the material facts of this case that should be noted are as follows. So basically, the defendants, namely the owners of the CARBOLIC Smoke Ball Company, have created a medical product which refers to the smoke ball and proceeded to make an advertisement in the Pall Mall Gazette of November 13, 1891 and also in other newspapers. So in the following advertisement, the company states that they would pay £100 reward to any person who contracted the influenza, cold, or any disease of that kind after having used one of the smoke balls in a specified manner and in a specified period of time. They also stated that they had deposited £1,000 in a bank to show their sincerity in this matter. The plaintiff, Mrs. Louisa Elizabeth CARLILL, came across the advertisement, bought one of the balls and used it 3 times daily for nearly 2 months. Unfortunately for her, one day she contracted the flu on 17th of January 1892. Later, her husband wrote a letter to the defendants regarding the matter and tried to claim the £100 as promised in the advertisement from the company. They ignored 2 letters from her husband, and on the 3rd request for the reward, they replied with an anonymous letter stating that the company had complete confidence in the efficacy of the smoke ball and they would need her to come to the office and use the ball each day and be checked by the secretary in order to avoid or protect themselves from all fraudulent claims. Mrs. CARLILL brought a claim to the court on the grounds that the advertisement and her reliance on it was a contract between the company and her, and that she is entitled to claim the £100 as promised in the advertisement.
There are 4 ratio decidendi that can be found in this case. The first ratio decidendi is that an advertisement would amount to an offer if specific words were used. In this case, the defendants argued that the advertisement was fake and cannot be construed as a promise. However, Lord Justice Lindley had a different view. According to him, the defendants had made a distant promise when they mentioned that £100 reward will be paid by the CARBOLIC Smoke Ball Company to any person who contracts influenza after having used the ball 3 times daily and so on. This was expressed in a language that was perfectly unmistakable. No matter how it is twisted, it is a distinct promise. It was no doubt that the language is vague in certain respects. However, if the true construction of this advertisement is that £100 will be paid to anyone who used this smoke ball 3 times daily for 2 weeks according to the printed directions, and who gets influenza or a cold within a reasonable time after so using it, it is enough for the plaintiff. Lord Justice L. Smith also said that whichever the true construction is, there is sufficient limit of time in order not to make the contract too vague on that account. Second ratio decidendi is an offer can be made to the public at large. An offer can be made to an individual, a particular class of persons, companies, and the public at large. In this case, the defendants argued that the promise was not binding because it was not made to anyone in particular. However, Lord Justice Lindley stated that anyone who performs the conditions stated in the advertisements are considered accepting the offer. Lord Justice Bowen stated that an offer becomes liable to anyone who performs the conditions before it is retracted, even though the offer is made to the whole world. The contract is made with a limited portion of public that comes forward and performs the conditions stated on the faith of that advertisement. Lord Justice L. Smith stated that a person's become a persona designate and has the rights to sue when they perform the conditions stated in the advertisement, which gives them a right to the reward offered. Third ratio decidendi is an acceptance can be an action. A contract may arise if a person makes a promise that is conditional upon another person in doing something such as buying smoke balls. This contract is termed as a unilateral contract. A unilateral contract is a contract in which only one of the people or groups involved agrees to do something. In a unilateral contract, an offeror promised to pay after the occurrence of a specified act to the offeree. If the offeree acts on the promise, the offeror is liable to fulfill the contract. In this case, the defendants argue that the acceptance must be communicated and the mere doing of that act in private is not enough. However, Lord Justice Lindley opposes this view. He stated that the performance of the condition is the acceptance of the offer. Lord Justice Bowen is also of the same view with Lord Justice Lindley. Lord Justice L. Smith, on the other hand, stated that the advertisement was an offer intended to be acted upon, and if the conditions were fulfilled and when accepted, constituted a binding promise. An action would assume that there was consideration for that promise. Fourth ratio decidendi is the suffering of CARLILL and the benefiting of CARBOLIC smoke ball is a form of consideration. Consideration is a vital element to create a valid contract. In this case, the counsel argued that the case is nudum pactum. Nudum pactum is a promise or an agreement that is made without a consideration. However, Lord Justice Lindley had a different view. He stated that if the defendants can get the public to be confident enough to use them, then the people will react and produce a sale which is directly beneficial to them. Thus, from this transaction, there is an advantage to them which is enough to constitute a consideration.
Moving on to a victor dictum. In the case itself, Lord Justice Bowen made an analogy explaining a different point of view that relates to the matter of the case. He proceeded to make an example. If he were to advertise to the world that his dog was lost and provides a reward of money to anybody who brings the dog to a particular place, does that mean all the police or person whose business it is to find the lost dog to be expected to sit down and write a note saying that they have accepted his proposal? Why? Of course not. They at once look after the dog. As soon as they find the dog, they would have performed the condition. The essence of the transaction is that the dog should be found, and it is unnecessary under such circumstances that in order to make the contract binding, there should be any notification of the acceptance. It follows the nature of the thing that the performance of the condition is sufficient acceptance without the notification of it. And a person who makes an offer in an advertisement of that kind makes an offer which must be read by the light of the common sense reflection. He does. Therefore, in his offer impliedly indicate that he does not require notification of the acceptance of the offer.